Hello and welcome to Dressmaking Amore. Today I want to share with you how to sew the prettiest bias cut silky slip dress. Something so classy and stunning deserved its own pattern, so I'm going to show you how to sew this beautiful draped silhouette with gathered slanted cups super easily. The dress flows down perfectly from the elegant thin straps, and I know you're going to absolutely love wearing it. Of course, we'll be using my Isabelle dress PDF sewing pattern, so to follow along, get yours at the link below in the description and use this code on the screen for 50% off the pattern for the first 24 hours. Here are the materials you'll need. Please refer to your instructional booklet that comes with your pattern to choose your right size and print and assemble the pattern perfectly, as well as follow the cutting instructions. And all the steps for the whole sewing process are in there. And here's a quick visual guide on how to put together your printed pattern. The letters in the top left corners indicate the rows and the numbers indicate the columns. And the circles in the corners will help you match all the pages. Cut the pages according to the frame to assemble the pattern and only then cut the pieces out. For this dress, use a light to medium weight, soft, non-stretchy woven fabric. And I'm using a lightweight caddy fabric, but you can also use satin, silk, linen, or rayon challis. Our pattern pieces are the front skirt, bust cup, back band, and the strap. Okay, let's get to sewing. The first step is to interface our pattern pieces for stabilization, and we'll do that by applying stay tape to the bust cup front facing neckline and the armhole edges from the wrong side of the fabric. And do the same for the top and the bottom edge of the back facing, like this. If you want more support, you can fully interface the pieces of the facing, and then true them to match the paper pattern. Place 2 gathering stitches on all of our bust cup pieces between the marks. And I used a gray thread here so that you can see what I'm sewing better. Now take the shell cup pieces and mark the seam allowances of 1.2 centimeters at the center front, like this. And then place the pieces right sides together and sew between the marks, and press the seam open. And then mark the seam allowances at the point of the skirt front. Pin the cup pieces to the front skirt right sides together, matching the notches and the seam allowance marks. At the center, I unfolded the center seam allowances of the cup so that I can see the exact point of the seam. And then we're going to gather the cups to match the skirt edge. And sew one side and then the other. Press the seam towards the cups, and stay stitching the armhole and the neckline will prevent the fabric from stretching since the edges are on a bias and will give you more control over it. First, prep the back by serging the center back edges and attaching the back band to each panel before sewing the back pieces right sides together. And then press the seam open. Place the front and back right sides together and pin, matching up the notches in the seams, and you want to distribute the fabric evenly between them. Baste and then sew on the machine. Then we're going to serge or overlock the side seam to finish the edges. Press the seam flat first and then press towards the back. Now for our straps, we're going to fold the pieces right sides together, pin and stitch in the middle. And then we'll trim the seam allowances if needed. Turn out the straps to the right side using a loop turner, just like this. And then pin one end of the strap to the ironing board, spray it with some water, and then press while pulling the other end. This way you're going to make the straps even thinner. And then we're going to pin the straps to the front. Place the bust cup facing right sides together, and then pin and sew the center seam from the mark down. And sew the center back seam of the facing back. Now press the seams open. place the front and back facings right sides together and pin and sew the side edges together. Press these seams open as well. With the wrong side of the dress towards the right side of the facing, match the side edges, the points of the neckline, and the center seam, and pin this all carefully. Closer to the center seam, make a knot from the gathering threads to secure them in place, and then pull 2 threads that are closer to the side seam and gather the bottom edge of the facing to match the length of our shell seam. Make knots on the other end as well. Now unpin the facing and place a stitch between the gathering, backstitching at the beginning and end to secure this gathering in place. And press and take out the gathering stitches. Now we're going to true the bottom edge of the facing and check that your pieces are even and symmetrical. Finish the bottom edge of the facing with a serger or overlocker, and then press the seam flat. Now pin the straps to the back and baste them in place. Place the facing and the dress right sides together and pin the neckline edge. Evenly distribute the fabric to match the length of the facing. The edge of the shell will be bigger, so this step is important. Don't cut off the excess of the fabric. You want to baste it so that you can do a fitting to check the length of your strap. So try it on to find the exact length of the strap that fits you, or just cut it following the paper pattern and adjust it later if needed. I ended up shortening mine by 4 centimeters. The strap can be sewn over at the back when the neckline is done, or you can just tie it behind the neck for a different design option. No need to sew the other end. Now you can sew on the machine from the facing side with 1.2 centimeter seam allowances. And then clip the corners and trim the seam allowances in half. Flip the dress over to the right side and fold the seam allowances towards the facing and understitch them 1 to 2 millimeters from the seam. Sew just until you can, stopping about 2 to 3 centimeters from the corners. And press the neckline edge. Align the side seam, center back, and center front of the facing in the dress, and pin this together. Then sew right into the ditch to secure this facing in place. And connect the bust cup seam allowances with a thread chain. Now before hemming, hang your dress on a dress form or a hanger for about 24 hours, and then try the dress on to look for any unevenness at the hem edge. Some fabric may need this more than others. This depends on the quality and type of fabric you're using. So even out your hem by measuring out the distance from the floor to your skirt hem, and if needed, mark a new hemline, and then trim off any fabric that's below that new hemline. Use a narrow serger seam or a rolled seam to finish the bottom raw edge. Press the hem, and of course giving your entire garment a finishing press like always, we are done with our stunning Isabelle dress. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new and this inspires you to sew this lovely piece yourself. I know you'll love it. You can get the PDF downloadable sewing pattern that I used below at the link in the description of this video, and happy sewing!